who's had a family emergency club, so he's not able to be here. Nathan, would you go to take this for us? Sure. Thank you very much, that'd be great. We will begin with a quick review of the agenda. As you can see, our main presentation will be from Chief Dillon here from the Crozet Volunteer Fire Department, and of course we'll hear updates from Supervisor Malik from the Washington Planning Commission. Any other business? I don't know if we have any pressing other than just preview what's upcoming in the next couple of months, and then we'll address any community concerns that people have. So again, I think fairly light agenda, and hopefully we'll be able to adjourn a little bit early this evening. We will begin, as we traditionally do, with the introductions. So I'll go first. Joe Ford, Chair of the committee, and I live in the Highlands neighborhood here in Crozet.
I'm Allison Rabel. I'm the community connector and staff liaison for this committee.
Jim Duncan, Crozet, Costa San Francisco, Valley Chief.
Nathan Alderman, I live in Western Ridge.
I'm Valerie Long and I live in Ultra.
Mike Murray, I live in Sugar Hollow, and I'm your planning commissioner for the Red Oak Districts.
And I live in Earlysdale, I represent Joint Board of Supervisors.
I'm Ken Thacker, I live on St. George Avenue.
Chief Dillon? Gary Dillon, Fire Chief, Crozet Volunteer Fire Department. And Tim, you want to start us in the back?
Yeah, Tim Tolson, live up behind Mid Springs County Park.
John Smith, live in Old Trail.
Andrew Bowers, I live in Pleasant Green.
Excuse me, Rick Mastich, recently moved here and live over across from the park.
Cherry Miyamoto, I'm here for the Crozet Trails crew, and I live in the Highlands.
And I'm Allie, and I'm videotaping this for the Crozet Gazette, but I do have to leave at 8, so I'm going to slip out.
I'll save all my controversial comments.
Yeah, so yeah, you're on your own.
I'm also 6 o'clock, so you got
Okay.
All right, so we had 2 sets of meeting minutes that we had to approve that I circulated. Were there any additions, corrections, or amendments for those that want to do before we approve those?
Lance Stewart's name was misspelled on last month's minutes.
Okay. All right. With that amendment, I'll we can adjust that. Can you send me the appropriate spelling?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I don't know. Was it? I'm sorry, I didn't notice. Was it like spelled like Stewart, like S-T?
Stewart with 2 W's.
2 W. Oh, that's easy. Okay, this is weird. Okay, great. Sorry, I thought it was spelled. Okay, all right, we can handle that. No problem. Any other with that amendments? Motion to approve those minutes. Thanks, Valerie. Second. Thanks, Costas.
Yeah, sure. I wasn't here last month, so that's why I'm doing that.
All right, well, you can abstain if you want. You don't
I was here the month before, so.
You were here in January.
All right, and do we, all in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Only for last month.
You're good, okay. All right, they're approved. That brings us to Chief Dillon, Crozet Volunteer Fire Department. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just want to thank Chief Dillon. He's been very patient. We've been trying to get this in the works for a few months, and I know with agenda items moving and changing, you've been extremely patient. So thank you very much for sticking with us. I've been trying to get him in here for a long time.
Good evening, my name is Gary Dillon. I'm the fire chief in Crozet. I've been with the Crozet Volunteer Fire Department since 2012. Prior to that, I was in law enforcement for about 25 years, last serving as the deputy police chief in Warrenton, Virginia, commuting from Crozet today. That was great. But I joined the department in 2012 when I was working a civilian job for a while because I really missed public service. And I found that, when I was a cop, it's different being a police officer and a firefighter. Police officer, and people wave at you, they don't usually use all fingers. Nobody waves at you with a full hand, it's kind of nice. The other thing I found different when I came to the fire department was people were constantly bringing food back for us to eat. And the food doesn't even hit the counter before everybody's digging in to eat. If they bring food by the police department, we're just kind of looking at them funny and think, all right, run their name through the system, find out what the rank was. You're not going to eat anything that brings by the police department. So So it's been a bit of a change for me, but I've really enjoyed it. Wife and daughter moved here in 2011, first living over in the villages of Highlands. We had sold our house at Lake Monticello. It sold rather quickly, and she found a place to rent on Craigslist. The villages, never heard of before. We moved in, and I noticed nobody else went to work during the day either. I worked from home, and no cars ever moved, and I realized that that neighborhood mainly is a retirement type of neighborhood. I didn't see any kids or anything around, but we lived there for a year. We loved it. It was really nice. Now we live on Macaulay Street off of St. George. We've made Crozet our home, and we really enjoyed it here. So I'll talk a little bit about the fire department and really how I ended up as fire chief. It wasn't planned. I still don't know why I'm in this role, but I do enjoy it most of the time. It's very rewarding. So these are some old photos. Fire department was established in 1910. Phil James has done some research and thinks that year's off a little bit, so we're still looking into that, but 1910 is what we're going with. The original firehouse was built in 1930, and that's owned right now by Western Albemarle Rescue Squad. For those of you new here, you might not know that. I'll show you a photo here in a moment. They had a siren that was mounted on top of the cold storage facility, what's now English Meadows. And when the siren went off, depending on the number of rings from the siren, the town was broken up into quadrants. So depending on the number of rings, it would tell you what quadrant that call was in. And that's how the firefighters are dispatched. They also had a single phone line wired to people's homes. So if they were home and they get the call, then they would go to the station and they would get the engine out, hot engines. So this is the original station. This is, what do you call it now, Annex?
Yes.
Western Albemarle Rescue Squad. It's right across from the old greenhouse coffee. Still in use. This engine right here, there it is. That was delivered on a flat rail car to Crozet, new, and we still have, it's not all original, we've had to do a lot of things to it to keep it running, but sometimes it makes it to the parade, sometimes it's not having a good day.
Some days it needs a tow.
Yeah, sometimes, we always have a tow vehicle in front of us and we throw a strap on the motor. But it's a pretty old truck. Western Albemarle Rescue Squad, this was the second firehouse, which was right next door to their annex. We had, in Constance, I don't know the history of that, when this was built, do you know?
I want to say it was in the 40s, like 46, 47.
Yeah. But I was there recently, we have a very good working relationship with our partners at the Rescue Squad. They had us over for dinner one night, and the way you all maintain the upstairs, I like your kitchen and facilities up there better than I do our current station. The old firehouse is probably the old ones in some ways, but, and this is the current firehouse. We've done some new signage, some new lighting, we're getting ready to replace some windows. It was built in 1985, in pretty good shape, but we are running out of space. The siren on the roof, that's what was mounted on the cold storage facility. And every once in a while, we'll fire that thing off to get the watts out of it. So our department today, around 40 active members. Organizational structure, paramilitary, chief, assistant chief, 2 battalion chiefs, captains and lieutenants, on down to firefighters. We brought in career staffing in 2020, and that was important because as Crozet grew, our firefighters were working elsewhere. They weren't working in Crozet anymore as these manufacturing facilities closed down. So we were really worried about, especially during the daytime, during the week, being able to get out on calls, and we knew it was becoming a problem. We did not ever want to get the reputation or our motto being Crozet Volunteer Fire Department has never lost a foundation. All right, we want to make sure we get to those houses quickly, or any other place we have to go to. So we had a hard discussion, and I was chief at the time. We called a special meeting with our membership, even people that hadn't been in the building in years that were lifetime members, and said, we need to do something. And they were resistant to bringing in career staff, but when you put the data up on the screen, the data doesn't lie. And they were given 3 choices. Do nothing. Second choice is step up recruiting efforts, which we've been doing, and do nothing. The third one was to bring in career staffing. And it was a unanimous vote. Even people that weren't eligible to vote, we still took a vote because we wanted to hear them. It was unanimous to bring in career staffing. So we did that September 2020 with 3 career firefighters assigned to our station Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So what that brings also is a medical component, because our volunteers aren't medically trained. We're trained in CPR, which is provided by Western for us, but that's all we do. We don't get dispatched on medical calls unless it's a cardiac arrest, and that's something recent. But with the career firefighters, they're medically trained, some of them are paramedics, and they supplement Western when they're short or they're backed up on calls, because a lot of times they get more than one thing going on at the same time. And people always ask, why is there a fire engine going to a medical call? Well, we're not going to load them on the fire engine, but they have to have all their equipment with them. Everything is stored on that engine. So that's how that works. And they're with us Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It has been a wonderful relationship so far. As far as the fire side goes, we've enjoyed having them on our station. I know other departments that chose to bring in career staffing really had some trouble with it. And we chose to approach it as they are our partners, they're part of our family, and anything we have access to, they have access to. So any locked door, they have access to those locked rooms. They talked about bringing in separate refrigerators for their staff. I said, no, just put everything in the same fridge. We just ask if you use all the mayonnaise, write it on the board so we buy more. The county provides funding for that anyway. And it's been a really good relationship that way by not having those types of barriers. We have a junior membership program. I'll show you a photo of that in a moment, but that's anybody that's 16 years old between 16 and 18. They can participate in fire training, they can answer fire calls, and it's a really good way to dip their toe into the fire service. Service area, approximately 147 square miles is what we have to cover. That's just for Station 5. And our call volume is just under 1,000 a year. Now, it's really jumped up once we brought on the career staff, because they also get toned for some of those medical calls to help Western Rescue Squad. So that brought our numbers way up. Prior to that, it was around between 700 and 800. So our junior firefighter program, this is Emily Sposato when she was at Crozet Elementary School on a field trip. And this is Emily Sposato as a lieutenant with our fire department up until about a year ago. She's in college in New Zealand right now. But that just shows you, one visit to the fire department or rescue squad. She's a member there too, Casa, so I'll give you some credit. It'd be something
New
that
Zealand,
really,
right?
what's that?
She's in New
New
Zealand.
Zealand, yeah. So, but she's a member of both places, and it's very rewarding for our younger people to get involved in the fire or rescue service. Some additional stats. Partial funding provided through Albemarle County Fire Rescue or the county, about $200,000 a year is provided to our department. It's a considerable amount, and it really helps us out a lot. But when we have to buy a piece of fire apparatus, it's starting at about $1 million now. Things have really gone up. And we have quite a bit of apparatus. I'll talk about that in a moment. This is not my slide. We do not report to the county. We're independent. We're part of a fire, what's FEM stand for? I'm on the committee. I can't remember what it stands for.
Fire and EMS board. It's just yeah.
So each chief from the county stations, we all sit on this committee and meet once a year. We have a very good working relationship with Albemarle County Fire and Rescue. Very fortunate to have that. We support the county system. They support us. We're all one system. The county service area countywide is 720 square miles, and countywide call volume is 16,000. So that's a whole lot. That includes medical calls as well. So for somebody to join our fire department, they have to complete firefighter 1 training, hazardous materials operations training, and then an internal release process. Once they go through all that, or even during that, they're assigned to a duty crew once per week, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. If they live close by, we let them go home, but they've got to be able to get to the station quickly. I'd love to have them in-house all the time, and we're kind of moving in that direction. We have to grandfather the existing members. We rotate a Saturday every 6 weeks, and we cover the nights and weekends as well. And we will also supplement the career staff if they get other calls or a large call where they need more personnel. If you've never been to our raffle, you should come. It's twice a year. The next one is coming up in May, and we fill the station. We have good food. Ms. Malik always comes and gets a good meal. I don't know if you've won yet, have you?
I was next to the last number, but.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count. No, you did get something, though. I think next to the last gets something, right? We have 2 parades, 4th of July and Christmas. We do community education things, and we meet once a month with a full department. This is something I really stressed since I took over as chief. Just because we're volunteers doesn't mean we're not professionals. Because we hear a lot of time, professional firefighters, professional paramedics. You don't have to get a paycheck to be professional. You're either career or you volunteer. So our members go through the same training that the career personnel go through, very, very stringent training. They put a lot of hours into that. So here's a typical duty crew. The members show up at 6 p.m., they check the trucks, they have dinner, they do some cleanup, they train. Sometimes they train first, they get dinner at 8 p.m. It just depends on the night. They train some more, then it's bedtime. Or they get a call for an emergency call and they go right out. I'm going to show you a quick video of one that happened about 2 days ago. The audio's on the laptop, so you're not going to be able to hear it. But this is on Jarman's Gap. This was a house fire. And everybody is out except for the animals. So one of our captains went in to rescue the, I believe, were dogs.
Somebody take this down!
So I think we missed some there. We didn't pick up on it. He uses some foul language because one of the dogs bit him. But we posted this video on Facebook. And I tell people, we can go into a house and rescue a little old lady, and people are like, oh, great, great. But you rescue an animal, and they are all over that. Social media just taking this thing up. So, minor dog bite, but he was okay.
Chief, the training process, how many hours does that take, or to go through all that hazmat that?
It is, you know what, I don't have this number offhand, because they keep changing it. But it's-
Fire one's a semester. It's the easiest way.
Yeah, so, yeah, three months, and then hazardous material operations is another 2.5 weekends.
And Gary, one of the things I think that's worth saying on your behalf is that in order to get fire training, it's a premium to be able to be in a firefighter class. The county offers, 24 spots twice a year. And that's for every station in the county. And that's 48 firefighters a year for 8 stations. And so that's not a lot of numbers. That's every station gets 2 spots. And so, you know, it's really hard. And I say this for the fire department. I mean, it's really hard to get firefighters. If Gary has 5 people that need training, next August is the next academy, he can only put 2 people into that class if all the other departments put people in.
And
So
this
those
actually
other 3 could potentially have to wait
yeah.
another 6 or 8 months before they get firefighter training. And you can't go into a building and fight fire unless you're a firefighter. So I think it's, you know, the idea, you can't just join the fire department and fight fire, I guess is what I'm.
Yeah. No, you've got to get the training, and then this happened to us last August. We had 6 people join, a couple from UVA, which is really, that's a first for us. And one of them couldn't get in the class because it was full. And I mean, it was too bad. It was nice that we were able to get 5 slots because the other stations didn't use them, but that happened. So, you know, could we use an extra firefighter class throughout the year? Probably so, if that accounting.
Yeah, but, I mean, a single trailer could fill a whole class.
Yeah.
Just because they run, the volume that they run, I mean,
They get a lot of UVA students.
And a lot of UVA students, they run about several thousand calls a year. I don't know what they run, but.
It's about 3.
What's the limitation there? Is it
Yeah.
trainers, like the physical space, resources, paying people, what's all?
All the above.
Yeah, it's probably, county staffing, you can only burn in that building so many hours, because the building has to be able to stand the heat. There's regulations on that to the state. There's lots of factors.
Is it a shortage of instructors as well?
It could be, because they're using the same instructors for both classes, and they're covering these classes on weekends. And so they're taking time away from their family to teach this as a side job, really. So if you add a third class on there, I think you're gonna need more instructors. 'Cause
Well,
those folks are
and
burning
there's a
out.
lot of other classes that folks need, right? So you also have a driver, pump operator, right? So in order to pump a fire truck and make water come out of it, that's a class. Hazardous materials is a class, and that's a couple of weekends.
Driving the truck is a class. That's just
Firefighter 2 is a bill on firefighter 1, which is another semester's worth, right? And so, and then you're not even talking about how to run a ladder or an aerial piece. Every single thing has its own class, and so you only have, 5 people in county fire rescue training, right? And so you got 5 people that are trying to teach all of this stuff. It's a little different than EMT, right? Because you can become an EMT through the Virginia Office of EMS, and we teach, like, we have our own EMT instructor, but the fire department can't have their own fire instructor. And so it's very different. Where we can train probably 100, 150 people or more in EMT training a year in Elmore County, we can't do that with fire.
You can't.
What about other options? I don't even know what's happening at CCAC anymore, but they used to have firefighter 1 and 2 every year, and all ages, not just high school kids, but all ages. And PVCC, do they do anything in this element?
I know K-Tech still does. I'm not sure about PVCC. We have one of our junior members just tested for his firefighter 1 exam. They're just passed that from
Okay.
K-Tech, and now he just took his hazmat ops exam yesterday.
Wonderful.
And other counties, I mean, I've taken some classes in Augusta County just as they had vacancies, and I wanted the class then, I didn't want to have to wait for it, so I drove across the mountain, good working relationship with them to be able to do that. All right, this is our application process, submit the application, meeting with the board of directors, and then being voted in by the full company. And if we have somebody that's just kind of iffy, if there's a criminal background I'm not comfortable with, we don't even move them forward with the company. There was a time in our department where if you were breathing, we would vote you in, and that's just not the case anymore. We have millions of dollars of equipment there, lots of assets, and we're not going to tolerate theft, dishonesty, or anything like that. So we're pretty strict now on who we bring in, and we've turned quite a few people away lately just because they weren't going to be a good fit for the fire department, or they just weren't willing to say up front that they're going to commit the time to do the training and attend the duty bridge. So we sent them to Western.
How's this a woman initiative?
Now we need to trust them.
No, they run their operation the same way. Just some photos of things going on. Western Albemarle Rescue teaching us CPR. We want to make sure everybody got CPR certified. That's the burn building there in the center photo. That's the one that it's just a big concrete building. They just burn straw and pallets and things like that and heat it up. But it's only rated to be burned so many days a week. I can't remember what the regulation is.
Where is that? Is that right up the interstate?
Yep.
By PVCC, sort of?
Yeah, probably right below the jail.
I've
If you
seen
ride
that.
through there, you see a bunch of smoke. And,
I've never seen the smoke, but driven by, it looks like, wow, that place looks like it's burned down.
yeah. So the last Saturday of the month, we do a book reading at Bluebird Books, and we bring some show and tell items for them. This is one of our class, top right there, one of our recent classes that just finished. I should have put the photo. Western cooked us a really good meal a couple months ago. I was really proud of it.
I see your trucks outside of the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
Thursday nights, whenever I.
But they're so quick. You can get it out of there so quick.
It's fun to drive by and see a little bit.
Yeah. So here's some benefits for joining the fire department. I'm almost done. I won't hold you up anymore, but obviously free gear and uniform. We're not going to make you buy your own gear. And it's about $2,500 just to buy the turnout gear that we wear. A new benefit the county is providing is up to $600 a year per member is an incentive. And we kind of tightened that policy up a little bit once the county gave it to us, and we make it specifically for duty crews. So you have to run duty crews to be able to be entitled to that benefit. Running calls is fine. We tie the calls into the $300 personal property tax reduction that you get. So if you run a bunch of calls, you'll get that. But if you run your duty crews, you're going to get this, and you're going to get this automatically. So we're really trying to push folks to be in the building because they get out so much quicker than responding from home. Free access to Elmore County parks, other discounts, and insurance and health benefits. And then the intangibles you see over there on the right, it is a second family. We mostly all get along. There's always a knucklehead or two in there, but that's just life, right? But we're very proud about what we do. But we realize, and I'll tell you this, the end is coming for all volunteer for Crozet. We will not be all volunteer forever. It's just not, volunteerism is dying. It's not just in Crozet, it's nationwide. People are so busy with other things, they don't live in their community or work in their community as much. So when we know it's time, we're going to say it's time, and we're going to put those things into effect to get the full-time career staff in here. That's the only way to do it. We don't want our department's history defined by a bad call because we didn't prepare and we didn't make the proper notifications to get the staffing in here. We don't want it to be taken away from us. We want to make the decision when it's time to say, okay, we need full-time career staffing. And when that happens, the volunteers still won't go away. We will still have a piece of that department. We'll still be able to run calls. We'll still be able to take engines out. We're just not necessarily going to be first out unless we have an agreement with the career staff that's on duty at the time. But the day is coming. I don't know when that's going to be, but we're not going to hesitate to say it's time when that time does come. Health and wellness. This is something I started pushing about 2 years ago. Skin cancer. I got hit with that. I went in just for a check. A coworker and older lady, she's like, "You ever have your skin checked?" I said, "No." "Well, you should." Okay, so I made an appointment about a year later, and I went in, and they found something. And sure enough, it came back as melanoma. And I'm thinking, if she had not told me, what would happen? So when it happened to me, I started doing some research and finding out that happens a lot to firefighters. All types of cancers. Skin cancer is one of them. And my dermatologist said nobody dies from skin cancer. They die from untreated skin cancer. So I went in for my appointment to have this chunk taken off, and while she was doing it, to keep my mind off this hole she was cutting in the back of my arm, I said, "Would you be willing to come to our station and examine our members? Any of them that want to do it?" And she said, "Sure." So we worked out an agreement. She came in on a Saturday on Skin Cancer Month in May, and we had about 10 members sign up to be screened. And some of those 10 members had some things that they needed to get looked at, and had they not caught them, they might have had bigger problems. So we're doing it again this May. I have 25 to 30 people signed up, because these people come to the fire department meetings, they stand up and say, "Had I not done this, it might be a different story for me." It's a simple exam. Get your skin checked. Another thing we push, which is a county benefit, is a physical called Life Scan. They go through everything. There's 3 stations you go through. The first station I went through was an ultrasound, head to toe, checking all organs, looking for signs of cancer or other problems. The next station you go to is for a stress test. They put you on a treadmill, they hook all the leads up to you, and they run you through that, do some sit-ups, push-ups, some other things. They check your hearing, they check your vision. They sit down with you, they go over your blood work that you did prior to the date that you show up. And there's another piece of it as well. But it's a very thorough exam. It takes about 2 to 3 hours. And the county pays for that. And only 4 of us did it last year. I think people were afraid of it. I don't know. It caught something on one of my members. He got up and started telling people about it. If you catch it now, you can do something about it. We had a whole lot more sign up this time around, so it's an annual thing. And it's free to the member. It's a free exam that goes through everything, well, almost everything. but it's so thorough. And if you catch these things, it might just save your life. So health and wellness is something we really push in the fire department. So that is the quick 30-minute version of what's going on in the fire department. I'm sure I missed some things I probably should cover, but if you have questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them for you. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that we lived in our house 10 years, and so it was time to change our smoke alarms.
Okay.
And one of our living room walls is like higher than this ceiling. When my husband was sleeping, he fell down off the ladder, and I refused to let him go up to change. So the fire guys came by and did it for me one morning. So thank you. They also said I didn't have enough fire alarms to put more in the house, but that was
Well, you're welcome.
I didn't realize that was something they did.
Any other questions?
I have probably a research question for you to take home.
Okay.
PFAS, people have been hearing a lot about in the news, the fluorine chemicals, waterproofing, all that kind of thing, loaded in your turnout.
Yep.
And a whole lot of cancer hotspots in firehouses all over California and New England where people have actually tested more for this. So I got after Dan Nicholson about this a couple of years ago because they were talking about replacing stuff. So I hope you all will draw a line in the sand. There is PFAS-free stuff out there now, and I really hope you will protect yourselves.
I know they're researching it because there's a gear shortage right now
Yeah.
because they're phasing out. So the turnout gear that's given to us has cancer-causing things in it,
Yeah.
but they're finding out
So
nationwide, not
it's
just
better.
Alabama County. But yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one thing that we've talked about on the planning commission is, as we've looked at, first of all, we've all seen the fires up on the Parkway and then just smoke coming down from Canada and everything else. And, we know what the situation is out in California right now, just like fires becoming almost routine out there. As someone who lives, for me in Sugar Hollow, if a fire got started out there, it's not going to take long before it comes out, our way. And I worry too about the people, Drummond's Gap. And it seems like housing is coming closer and closer to the Blue Ridge up there. And I don't know if you had any sort of thoughts about that. And we, on the planning commission, we talked like maybe we should have a fire risk overlay to just highlight areas like we do with floods. We have areas that are marked out on the map in the county for areas that are high risk of flood. Maybe we need the same thing with fire. Like, do you see certain areas as the county as perhaps being at higher risk of fire than other areas?
Not that I'm aware of, at least in our first due area, but I'm concerned about the amount of building going on here. As fire chief, I think about that a lot, especially at night. Everybody's going to bed, all this new construction out here. It concerns me. I wonder when it's going to stop. Because it taxes the fire department, it really taxes the rescue squad, the number of calls they get. But to answer your question, no, I'm not aware of a specific area that's more of a threat. We get these, I meant to mention this before, we have drones now. We have 3 drones, 3 pilots, and FAA certified drone, not like a real plane pilot, but FAA certified drone pilots. And we can throw those up really quick to get a lock on where there's a brush fire so we know where to start. That's been pretty helpful.
And so what is the strategy? Like if we were to have if there's a fire coming down from the Shenandoah in the Crozet, do you work with the park system to do backfires or like where?
Department of Forestry and the parks as well, they would take control of that and we would assist. Because they know it better than anybody. As you remember the one that was several months ago up on the Parkway, they had 3 helicopters dumping load. Luckily, because there was a nearby fire, they had access to those helicopters much quicker and be able to drop the loads with water. Chief Tim?
I was just going to say that you guys did a really good job when the plane crashed up here just past my house on Mid Springs Road. And the plane crash started a brush fire. And the brush truck was up there immediately and controlled the fire very quickly.
Yeah, that was a bad night.
Yeah.
Chief, we just got the county executive released the new budget for next year. I don't know if you have any thoughts on, do you feel good about sort of the allocation, whatever like funding and resources you guys are getting, or we as a community or committee, you need to advocate for more resources for trucks or people, or what is it that you all could use?
We're actually, we didn't ask for anything this year. I feel like we're in good shape. My treasurer handles all that stuff. I had to call him today to find out what the allocation was because I couldn't remember. Just because I don't really get involved in the bill paying. I think we're funded well. We're supported by Elmore County Fire Rescue, especially when it comes to vehicle maintenance. They take care of all our apparatus for us. Prior to that, we had to find mechanics and shuttle apparatus all over the place. Now they'll come to us, or they'll take them to their new service center, which is at the Gratiot Square Mall. Really nice facility there. It makes it easier on us because we all have regular jobs. We've got to leave work early to take a fire engine into town somewhere to get it worked on. It's all done for us now.
So, Joe, I'll add something to that. The line item that Gary talked about, the $600 per member reimbursement, that's a maximum. So the board allowed $100,000 that gets dispersed twice a year. With the number of volunteers we have in the county, that works out to $187 a volunteer, give or take. So while there's a potential to get up to 599, so you're up doing tax form. The current fuel reimbursement, which is what they're calling it, is about $160 to $180 a person. And so it's far below what it could be and what its intent is and what it's supposed to grow to. I know this year they proposed $125,000 for that, and it got cut back to $100,000. So it's not a fully funded thing, but I mean, we're grateful for anything we get because obviously it costs money for folks to drive out to Crozet volunteer. So it certainly helps us. But that's one example of something that's not quite fully funded. The intent is there. The board is very supportive to put this in place for us. And then at some point we hope to realize its full potential. Because it's all divided amongst everybody.
Well, yeah,
And what we've done is we fully fund it for our members. So if we get a check that's smaller from the county because more people participated, we make up the difference. So the member never sees it.
Right, but that could be going for
Well,
other
it
things.
could be, yeah.
So,
But that's where the community comes in, because that donor pool is really important to cover all those other things.
We're grateful for our community, our donors. Very grateful for Casas and Western Rescue. Just a great partnership. I mean, I think we're in good shape out here in Crozet with fire, EMS, and police services as well. We all work very, very well together.
Are there areas of the county that you think that are maybe underserved, that are too far out of reach of the existing fire stations?
I'll just kind of focus on this one. 150 square miles, so.
But there are probably steep slope areas up above Tim's house where even the brush truck can't go.
Oh, yeah,
So
I mean, we have a utility, those UTVs that we can use. We've assisted, if there's somebody lost or somebody injured, we'll assist Western Rescue with going up there and helping out with a search or trying to extract somebody that's been injured. But yeah, you get way up there towards Greene County, man, it's a haul for us from Crozet, from Kirby Road, getting up there, Mission Home, all that.
Well, I was thinking right up here, I mean,
Yeah.
What's Elbow, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Gary, I wonder if you could comment on the increased traffic associated with school drop-off, especially on 240 and 250, which seems to be exacerbated by the county's inability to fully staff the bus system and so many parents getting into the habit of taking their children to school in a private vehicle and the traffic that's causing. Does that slow you down in response time?
Regardless of what the traffic is, it slows us down, whether it's school traffic or anything else. I mean, and we, both fire and EMS, we get to intersections, we take our time, we try to creep through those anyway. I take my daughter to Western every morning, I take her through Old Trail, and I sit at the bottom of that hill at the traffic circle and work my way toward the light, because the kid can't ever get ready on time, and let's get out of the house at a decent time.
I do the same thing.
Yep, so.
25 minutes for that last quarter mile, right?
I haven't been in that line of traffic when emergency vehicles come through to see how it is, but people around here are pretty good about getting out of the way for us. We make a lot of noise anyway, but And there's some people that just, especially at this four-way stop here at the railroad bridge, people tend to freeze, they don't know where to go. And I get it. You got all this noise coming up behind you, where do I go? The light's red, I can't drive through it. Well, you can't, you just gotta make sure the way's clear. That's the choke point, I think, for us in EMS.
So having some sort of a pattern preferred, that, because I was thinking, okay, if I were in the left coming here, then if I went in the right lane, you'd be out of the way, but you all needed to go in the right lane. I mean, having somebody think through a protocol that could be shared would be helpful to all of us, I think. But-
You don't know necessarily where the rescue or the emergency vehicle's going.
Oh, I understand.
But we use our turn signals, but everything else is flashing at the same time. No, I don't need you to get in the right lane, get in the left lane, because I'm gonna turn right. Well, they don't see that.
Maybe a big microphone is.
You know what I'm waiting
Go
for?
right, get out of the way.
You know what I'm waiting for, and I read this on Jim's blog the other day, when he used the word finally. You know what that's about? We're talking about traffic patterns, you use the word finally.
Oh, yeah.
You're turning left in Crozet Square. If they would just make that, I even thought about, I was gonna make up my own sign in the middle of the night, stick it to that traffic box, no left turn, use Library Avenue. Because people just sit there in the morning and everything gets backed up loading you through the intersection. And that's hard on both fire and EMS. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope it doesn't impact the businesses, but it's,
People will figure it out, they just have to give them 5 more minutes to get around the block. It'll be
So
fine.
so what's the timeline on that? When is it
I
coming?
think the RFP is out, or maybe in review, I don't remember which, but some sort of award is supposed to happen this spring, as far as the contract, and then it starts right up. Allison, that's that right to you? Okay.
Yeah, we get the presentation we got last time, the
construction
starts
starts
this
this
summer,
Yeah.
completed next summer.
2025, yeah.
and the other traffic thing I'd love to see if somebody get it fixed is the pork chop and Old Trail. Right? We talked about that a couple of years. That's that little median thing right there when you want to turn in to go.
Outside of Brick?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you have to, I don't know why
Oh,
it's like that.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
because
it's
it's,
not-
It's hard for fire.
It's
I mean,
supposed
we
to
just
be
talked
no
about
left
it. We're
turn.
gonna
it's
go
supposed
in there,
to
but
force
it's
you to
gonna
turn
be-
right and go down around the circle to go back up towards Old to
But you would need a
250.
no left turn sign for anyone to
It wasn't
actually do
built
that.
large enough to force people to do that, so they go around.
Jackhammer 3 ends a little too noticeable, so.
If you're going to the lodge, you just drive right over the pork chop and go straight.
That's what we've gotten calls, we just drive right over. Or hungry for Mexican, we're going there that way too.
That's equally emergent.
That's right. Any other questions? I really appreciate you all having me tonight. CrozetFire.org, CrozetFire@gmail.com if you want to reach me. Always happy to answer any questions. Jim knows how to reach me, it's sold in my house. You better know.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move to our updates from our supervisor and financial member, Supervisor Mallett.
All right, second budget work session this afternoon. We talked about a bunch of departments, talked about things that are not on the recommended list and about to get CIP elements. One of the bigger ones coming is the transportation leveraging, which will be a presentation on the 25th of March. There's also transportation things on the agenda, I think some logistics or policy things on the meeting on the 20th. But I guess my main announcement is that on April 10th, this meeting, the CCAC meeting, is being usurped by a transportation town hall and budget town hall. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. And that will be held over at Brasfield Cafeteria in order to be able to have room for lots more people, and hopefully lots of people will come. And county staff will be there to share a transportation update for this region. And we'll also have budget information if people want to talk about, as typical, whatever anybody wants to talk about. And I will ask each of you to take home and share with your neighbors how important it is for decorum when people come to the board meetings. It was pretty appalling at the last board meeting. The catcalls, the whistling, the booing that came from people who did not appreciate what they were seeing in the last rezoning. And it makes the whole community look bad, and it alienated very badly. And I kept going like this to people, but it didn't make the slightest bit of difference. And the board members were pretty alienated by that whole thing. So let's not shoot ourselves in the foot with this. Put your best foot forward always, even if you're upset about something, because it's going to not go well in the future if this continues. So anyway, that's all I have to say. School teacher language here, sorry. Come on.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And, sorry, if I could just ask one question. The work sessions, they don't include a public comment
That's correct.
portion. do they?
But you're welcome to come and listen, and certainly there will be, the first public hearing is on the 25th of April, but there's lots of time between then and now and then to submit by writing, or come to board meetings and speak during perhaps to the public, anytime, that kind of thing is very welcome.
I would just add, I think, and I had intended to send this to the board, but to you for future reference, I just, as a procedural matter, I found it frustrating that the county executive presented the budget 1 week, and then 7 days later was the public comment.
For the first one.
For the first one, but it was basically, here's the budget, you have 6 days to read through and figure it out, and then come in and figure out what you want to say about it.
It's hundreds of pages.
Right, it was a 500-page document, here, everybody in the public will figure out and come.
It's
I
not-
understand it's a tight timeline, but that, I think just even from an optics standpoint, I think that doesn't look great, when it's like, here's this thing, go figure it out, and then tell us, and then it recedes back into secret, or sort of perceived sort of secret work sessions, all that. I think it gives the appearance of more of a kind of a black box, like, if you understand what I'm saying. I think it gives the appearance that the public input is actually not
welcome.
as
Yeah.
welcome or as efficacious, right? It's illusory, I think.
So I have complained about that in the past, and what explanation that's been provided, for what it's worth, is that this is the introduction of the information, and here it's available online, you can see it at the libraries as well, but then people are to hopefully listen and then figure out what areas they want to research and be able to then comment during the next 6 weeks. So it's not a one-time shot for sure. It is certainly there were some people, a few, who actually came to the first one and said things, which is great, but ongoing submissions of what is important to people are very important and will be taken, especially emails that come in 1 or 2 a day. It's very easy to read those and sort of incorporate them into the book. It's almost more effective in a way than getting 50 speakers in one meeting, because then everybody's sort of overwhelmed. So please do not be shy. Find a way to, what your favorite way is to share what your concerns are. And, but I do get it, and that back in the old days, 20, 30 years ago, it was even worse. It was like 2 days later.
Yeah. I would almost suggest, if that's, and I would almost recommend, if that's the idea is that there's this ongoing comment, maybe even to the extent you can, eliminate that public hearing, right? Just either get rid of that or change the way it's presented. Because I think even just looking at the agenda, when it says public hearing on the thing, it's like, this is the public hearing, right? I think
So
people see that.
Give more explanation about all the other opportunities that are coming.
Or even just rename it or change it, or eliminate it as a standalone kind of thing and say, public comment is of course welcome and ongoing, but maybe even considering eliminating that as the first thing. I think optically it breeds a little bit of cynicism.
Interesting.
Okay.
Sorry, Lonnie, please.
All right, so first of all, sorry for missing the last meeting. It was between going to dinner with my wife on Valentine's Day or attending this meeting, and I'm sorry, but I chose the other. So,
Smart.
She'll never love you like we will.
Don't let them know that you said you were sorry.
so anyway, so at the last planning commission meeting, we covered the rural area chapter. This actually, we were originally just going to do one meeting on the rural area, and wisely it was pointed out that the rural area encompasses 95% of the county, and it probably deserves more than just one meeting. And so we did get a second meeting to discuss transportation in the rural area, and although Crozet being a development area, I think there's a lot of issues, a lot of reasons for Crozet citizens to care about the rural area. I know I'm sure Jim bikes through through the rural area all the time. I'm sure a lot of you go out to parks and other things out in the rural area and appreciate or scenic views probably part of the reason that you're here. So we've gotten a lot of comments in there. It was very interesting, you know, one of the things we talked about is what if any new uses are appropriate for the rural area. And, you know, and so some things that we're talking about, for example, is, you know, there is a need for people to be able to access medical care in the rural area and how we're going to address that. That was the one area where it seemed like there was maybe some interest in providing something, even if it's just mobile, making sure that people can access mobile medical service. There was talk about crossroads communities and, you know, what is appropriate for a crossroads community? Should we have more designated crossroads communities or not? It seems like we're leaning against, in many ways, expanding crossroads communities because there's a lot of concern in the public about the, you know, sort of the camel's nose in the tent, about, you know, the crossroads community designation being used to introduce more development and more kinds of uses that are not appropriate for the rural area in those spaces. And it was interesting because later in that meeting, we actually had a special use permit for an automotive repair facility that would be in Keene, which is not currently a crossroads community, but, you know, the staff had suggested, well, this is an example of something that's kind of like a crossroads community. And the Keene community turned out in large numbers saying, we don't want this in our community, like, you know. And so, to me, that was a very interesting thing because we're talking about, you know, giving autonomy to places like Batesville to determine what they feel is important about, you know, their crossroads community. Then we should listen to places like Keene that, you know, when they say, no, really, we don't need an automotive repair place in the middle of Keene. This does not serve us. Maybe we should listen to Keene as well. And so that was a very interesting discussion. The other thing that we heard was a climbing gym over we approved over in Ivy. I personally think that's a great thing. Exciting to see new recreational opportunities for people in the area.
Where, in the village
Oh,
of Ivy?
it's in Ivy Road.
It's right next to the railroad trestle by the funky gas
Oh.
station.
Yeah.
Like the first building on the left if you're going west on Old Ivy.
In the old shopping center
No,
Or
No, it's
here, not in the little
It's like an
triangle.
old office building.
like an old.
It's by the bridge,
Yeah,
where
just past
the
the
pizza
railroad
place on
trestle.
this car wash is.
Oh, on the other side, oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that'll be something that'll benefit from the traffic study that's been done, that's being done over there. I know, for those who don't know, that there's that little spot where it dips down and often floods and cars get trapped in the floods and it's kind of scary. So there's a whole traffic study that's going on there to look at alternatives and whether we can have pedestrian travel and other things there. And I think all of